Bruch's Violin Concerto No. 1, played by Pinkas Zuckerman with the London Philharmonic Orchestra, conducted by Zubin Mehta. Do you play the violin, Hugh?
Oddly enough, I don't. No.
I thought you played all instruments.
No, I don't know where you got that from. That's absolutely.
How many instruments do you play?
I trifle at a number. It's the piano and the guitar, and just a few things.
Did you play in the school orchestra?
I did, yes. I played the percussion in the school orchestra. And from that experience, I grew to hate violinists a great deal, actually, I'm afraid. Violinists en masse. I used to think of them because I stood at the back with my cymbals and my triangle. And they were the sort of gauleiters down the front who used to snigger at the conductor's jokes. And I grew to hate them, I really do. And I sort of...
They were superior.
They were very superior, yes. Violin as a solo instrument, I adore. But en masse, I think of these ranks of people in white short-sleeved shirts. I don't know what that means.
Was this at the Dragon School in Oxford, or was it at Eton?
This was at Eton, yeah.
Your father was a GP in Oxford?
Yes.
And you had a brother and
yes.
2 sisters. Where did you come in the pecking order of it all? I mean, you were the youngest.
I was the youngest, yes. Well, I suppose it's the fate of many families, siblings anyway, to think that they are the least favourite. My sisters and brother would firmly argue that I was the blue-eyed boy who could do no wrong, and that I irritated them greatly for that reason.
Were you much younger than them?
I was quite a bit younger, yes. My brother's the next oldest, and he's 6 years older than me. But, of course, I didn't see it that way at the time. I don't suppose anybody does, really.
So describe yourself to me as a boy of 10. What were you like?
Unpleasant, I suspect. Idle, feckless. Quite happy. Happy because I do, as I said, I had this very vivid sort of fantasy life. I was a great, and still am, a great fantasist. And I spent a large amount of time on my own.
Did you then have the ability to make people laugh?
I can remember my family, I always thought were very... I can remember laughing more than I can remember making people laugh. My father and mother and sisters and brother, all of them, I always thought of as being tremendously funny. I can remember meals were very enjoyable because we used to laugh a lot. And I suppose that by sort of 10, I started to give as good as I got, as it were.
What did you expect to do with your life? What ideas did you have of becoming what?
I considered medicine briefly. I never worked hard enough to pass the exams to become a doctor. But I had a period of seriously considering the Hong Kong police. In the mid-70s, there was a big recruitment drive. This could be completely wrong, but this is how I remember it. There were brochures. In fact, I sent off the brochures of young men in Land Rovers with creases down the front of their shorts and shiny peak caps. And it seemed to me a terribly sort of glamorous and exciting life.
You like the khaki uniform?
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
You like the idea of showing your knees. Somebody told me you were a special constable. That can't be true.
No, that's absolutely not true, and I don't know how that rumour gained ground. I once made a citizen's arrest. That may have qualified me for that.
So you're a good law-abiding chap, and apparently a bit of a square at Eton, is that right?
Yeah, I suppose so. I think I became square, yes. I mean, I was quite bad at 15, 16, was nearly thrown out, and I had ghastly traumatic meetings with my parents. They came and had to take me away and give me a talking to at a service station on the M4, which I can never drive past now without thinking of with shame and embarrassment. But then by the end of it, I suppose I'd become square. I became a sort of house captain and that sort of, yes, I became establishment. Oh, God. I'm so sorry.
Tell me about record number 3.
It's Tumbling Dice by the Rolling Stones. This is a record. When I was about 10, I tried to make a petrol bomb. And I burnt myself rather badly, which was a just punishment for being so idiotic. And while I was convalescing, instead of... My father actually never got particularly cross about the petrol bomb, which he had every right to, but he went into Woolworths and he said, have you got a pop record? He bought me... They gave him Tumbling Dice by the Rolling Stones, and I probably played it 1,000 times while I was getting better. To this day, I've imagined this picture of him braving the hit parade to ask for this record, and I thought I was just so touched by it as a gesture, and it means a great deal to me for that reason.
Of boat race here, I think, Hugh. What year, what number, what was the result?
The year was 1980. I was number 4 in this particular encounter, and the result was a loss by Cambridge by a distance of 5 feet, which is something which I will take to my grave.
So do you still dream about the 5 feet?
I do, actually.
You fantasise about winning?
I do. In fact, I shouldn't really say this because I wouldn't want, still to this day, I wouldn't want to give any pleasure or satisfaction to the opposing crew for that reason. But yes, it is true. It was a very bitter defeat.
So there you were, reading anthropology at Cambridge, a member of Footlights. At what point did you meet Stephen Fry and how?
That was my last year. I was president of Footlights. The responsibility was mine to assemble a review for the end of the year. I was absolutely determined that it should be very grown up in that sort of very pompous sort of 20-year-old way. Some of the previous reviews had been very sprightly young undergraduates sort of nipping about the stage, and that had rather nauseated me, so I wanted to do something rather sick, in fact. And I chose Stephen, not for the sickness reason, but because he appeared then, he appears slightly younger now, but he appeared then to be about 60. He very nearly wore sort of stiff collars, and he's dressed younger and younger as he's got older. He'll be in short trousers in about 10 years' time.
While you go bald?
Yes, quite.
So it was his gravitas that was important to you?
Yeah.
That was what attracted you to him in the first place. Did you know immediately that you'd found a professional soulmate?
Not a professional soulmate, because I hadn't really considered it as a profession, but we got on very well, very quickly, and when we started to write together, we made each other laugh a lot. It seemed to come very easily. We would just churn out great piles of stuff.
You wrote the Cellar tapes together,
Yes.
or most of it, didn't you?
Well,
whole show.
yes, fair bit of it, yes.
And it won the Perrier Award at the Fringe.
It did.
And then it got onto the telly. What was it about? Because I don't remember it at all.
Well, it
What
was
its
a
theme?
loose assemblage of sketches and comic moments of varying degrees of success. We were extremely lucky because Not the 9 O'Clock News was a great success, and very quickly other television companies were desperately scrabbling to get their own version of it. So suddenly young people doing sketch comedy became a very sought-after product. It's such an awful word, but anyway, that's probably how television executives would describe it. And we were sort of caught up in that scrabbling.
Record number 4.
Record number 4 is Frank Sinatra with Count Basie, because, Sinatra I love anyway. Count Basie's orchestra is about as good a collection of musicians as ever got together, and this is Love is the Tender Trap. Just about the first house I lived in when I came to London, there were about 4 or 5 of us living in this house. It was about the only tape we had, and we used to wash up to it.